Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Oric Talk Show. This week, I'm talking with Sam Cooke, who runs his property company, Fowlds Cook Property Solutions. We'll be talking how Sam quickly got started in property, the mindset surrounding it, and if having a mentor is vital. Sam, thanks for coming on the show. How are you doing?
Yeah, no, not a problem at all. It's good to be here, doing well. Just raving today because, as I was saying earlier, the property market's still open. So I'm in a good mood with that because it were a little bit touch and go where I thought, what am I going to do with myself for a month? But yeah, besides the lockdown, I'm good.
Yeah, excellent. It was a bit of good news, wasn't it, to get the fact that the property market is indeed open to continue investing in it?
Yeah, no, it's definitely good news for us because, like I said, I'd be kind of be sat on my hands for a month if not.
Yeah, good stuff. So, excellent. So, right, let's get a bit of background then. So, who are you and what do you do? Let's talk about, what you're doing in property.
Yeah, so I've been deal packaging now since April last year. It's been a bit of an interesting journey because I'm 21, so I'm a bit younger than the average kind of start. And I was an estate agent before that for a short while. Essentially, the way I got into it is I knew I wanted to get into property. So I went into estate agency because, as someone with no experience, it just seemed like the natural path at the time. Kind of realised with estate agency, it wasn't my cup of tea. And no offense to any estate agents that might listen, you don't actually need to know too much about property to be an estate agent. It's more about the local area. So leaving there, that happened literally just as lockdown mark one happened. So I'd left my job, and then lockdown happened, and I was left, with no job, no income, thinking, right, what am I going to do now? And that's actually, oddly enough, when I connected with my mentor, which I'm sure we'll come on to later on,
Yeah.
and started up my property sourcing business. And yeah, that's kind of how I started in property and how it went from there.
Awesome. And did you find? Well, actually, let's talk about what made you go into sourcing. Was it just that you thought that was the kind of gateway into property, or?
Yeah, it felt like the natural gateway, because, and I know this is a stereotypical, I didn't have any money kind of start. My original plan was to start flipping houses and go from there, but the more I was researching online, reading books, and connected with my mentor, the more property sourcing seemed like that easy, natural path into property. And a lot of the property professionals I knew and had spoken with had all kind of started outsourcing. So I thought it's something I'd give a go.
Yeah, it's definitely a great way to raise some capital. You've done correctly, but would you agree that it's because I've speak to some property sources myself, and they say it's kind of like what you would get, what most people want to start in, because it sounds good, doesn't it? Find your deals, pass them on to investors, get a fee, sort of thing. But would you say that it's quite difficult, or is it easy?
Yeah, I'd say it can be very difficult, for the reason being that I started out with the mindset, you find a good deal, you find an investor, you meet in the middle and get that fee. But the problem is, what's a good deal to me is different to a good deal to someone else. And unlike a standard business where you've got to find your product, where you've already got your product and you just find your customer, with property sourcing, you've got to find your customer and you've got to find the product, and you've got to make sure that that product is the right fit. So it can definitely be challenging, and I'd say it's a lot more challenging than people are led to believe starting out. And I'd say it's definitely taken me just under a year to fully grasp and understand how it works and the things that I've done wrong, the things I've done right, and what to do differently going forward.
Yeah, so you've learned a lot this year, haven't you, in terms of business, and I guess like your mindset has probably developed a lot from probably, let's say, for instance, a complete year ago.
Oh, completely, without a doubt. I think a lot's changed, definitely what I've learned in property, but I'd agree that the biggest thing that's changed for me is my mindset, and it's made a complete change.
Yeah, I can imagine it wasn't, and in order to grow a business, we do have to grow ourselves, don't we, as a person
Yeah,
and
yeah.
adapt. So, with your education background, has any of your education background helped with what you do in property, or is it completely like opposite end of the spectrum?
opposite end of the spectrum. So my education, I was never in particular the smartest kid in school, but I wasn't the worst either. I was always just kind of flying by, just doing okay, just average. And then I left. I was originally wanting to be a vet, oddly enough, which is what I was training to do. I worked in a monkey sanctuary, which was a really odd start. And
Awesome.
then yeah, and I practiced an apprentice when I was 16, but all my previous roles have been sales and customer service. So property was a complete 180 from anything I'd ever done before, and especially running a business, that was something I'd never even touched on.
Yeah, wow, you've gone from monkeys to property. That's insane.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely different.
Well, I think I might want to sack property and go and play with monkeys.
Oh, you'd be surprised, the smell and they're really not, and the bite, they're really not that fun.
Okay, I'll reconsider. They're just good to look at and watch them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Oh god, cool. So yeah, we'll move on to having a mentor then. So let's go from the very first process of what made you go to having a mentor. Did people tell you should have a mentor? Was it because I read a lot of books that say some say you don't need one, but there's the majority do say you do need one. And did they reach out to you? Did you reach out to them? Tell us, walk us through that process.
Yeah, I'll just put my um yeah, that's it now. So with a mentor, I had starting off, I had a really negative opinion of it. The reason being is I went to one of my first experiences in property is I went to a property seminar. It was a 2-hour free one, and they were just absolutely hammering you with like, you need a mentor, you need this, you need that. And because the sales were so aggressive, I kind of left there determined to make it on my own. So for me, having a mentor was something that I never actually set out to do. I connected with my mentor because when we were in lockdown, I started connecting with people in the property industry just to have conversations and understand a little bit more about how it worked. So I connected with my mentor, Danielle Bell, on Facebook. I just sent her a message because I could see she was a sourcer and an investor. I didn't know she was a mentor at the time. It was something that was quite a new aspect of her business. And when we spoke on the phone, we spoke for 2 hours completely free. She didn't even mention mentorship. She helped me out so much. And at the end of kind of 2 hours of speaking to her, I just said, would you mentor me? Is that something that you do? And it turns out that she had a couple of mentees at the time, and that's how I kind of got started with her. And I'd highly recommend it for anyone, really. And that's coming from someone who was against it in the beginning or didn't think much of it.
Interesting, yeah, because there's, as you said, like a lot of people that I've spoke to, there is that shift where some people love having a mentor and some people do like to go out on their own. And I do know, well, one person pops to mind where they haven't had a mentor. They've just been surrounded by people. I guess it's right place, right time, and they've just kind of gone into where they've gone into property with someone who's meant could even be their dad that's mentored them in property, but they didn't see it as a mentor. But so
Yeah,
it's kind
but
of like different.
yeah, completely. I think a mentor can take on different roles. It could be a friend, a family member. I don't think it's necessarily someone you always have to pay for. But for me, because I'm from quite a small town in the north, there's not many people around that. I'm trying to think out. It's quite a working class environment that I've been
Mm,
born in, so there's not as many mentor-like figures that run their own businesses or
yeah.
strive for property and financial freedom and that kind of thing. So for me, I did need a mentor.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And obviously, you've got your reasons, and if it makes you successful, which I'm pretty sure it will do, because sometimes like we we know we want to be successful, and we know we are hard workers, but we also kind of need that mental push sometimes, don't we? That accountability, and I think for me, accountability is a big one. I like to have that accountability to move forward.
Yeah, definitely. Accountability is something I'm quite new to myself, actually. But yeah, it's speaking to someone that's kind of been where you're at the moment and having that guidance. And what I found most useful was hitting certain difficult situations. Like I've had investors try and go behind my back and get deals that I've sourced to them, and having that person that's been there before and saying, "Look, what do I do?" Has been vital. And like you said, the accountability as well has really helped me a long way.
Yeah, it definitely does. I couldn't agree more with that one. So yeah, you mentioned investors actually then. So let's move on to talking about investors. So uh, have you worked with investors much in the past year? And if so, how's that been for you?
Yeah, so I've worked with a variety of different investors. Some of them were my own that I onboarded halfway through the year. I set up a business partnership with a franchise that have access to 100,000 investors. So I've met them for tea. I've also got my own investors who I speak to quite frequently. So I have dealt with a few. Um, it, I think with a property sourcing business, your investors will make or break you. Because when I was new to property and property sourcing, I felt inexperienced. I had imposter syndrome, which is basically you don't feel like you deserve to be where you are. So when an investor said to me they want to deal with all the money back out and a 50% ROCE, I thought that was possible. And if I couldn't find it, on my head be it. Whereas in reality, the more experience you get, you start to understand what deals are great deals and what deals are those unicorn deals that are going to be found, but maybe once a year.
Mm.
And I think as a property sourcer, if you've got those right investors and you manage those expectations and they understand the deals you're going to bring to them and you understand the deals they need, I think that's how you go with more deals. And because I didn't know that early on, I've let some amazing deals slip through my fingertips because I just didn't have the confidence to promote it as an amazing deal.
Oh, really? Okay, so you actually did have some really good deals then, but what made you lack that confidence? And was that because you thought it wasn't a good deal, or was that because you got told it wasn't a good deal by one single investor?
I think it was just because it was my first time sourcing a property deal. The only, at the time, just starting out, the only way I knew it was a good deal is if my mentor said it was.
Mm.
Because I only had three investors at the time, if it didn't match one investor's requirements, I automatically assumed that, oh, it can't be a good deal then. But at the time, I didn't realize that every investor, needs different things. For example, one of them would have left £4,000 in after refinance and had I think it was over a 50% ROCE. And, that's a really good deal.
Mm.
But at the time, I was just thinking, oh, you know what, maybe £5,000 left in a deal is too much. And, but obviously looking back, I understand that it just wasn't for the investors I had at the time.
Absolutely, because I think like £5,000 in a deal, like, well, it's all dependent, isn't it? Like, depends if you are literally trying to. I mean, the unicorn deals are like money out, complete money out.
Yeah.
You know, and they're the ones that everyone kind of looks for. But I think £5,000, I'll take that deal off your hands, to be honest.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
it just goes to show.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was 30 to 50% RSE, I think. But yeah, that's what I mean. It's only when you speak to more investors that you understand, "Oh, actually, I just didn't have the right investor at the time. And that's helped me in my business because when I'm speaking to an investor now, I can really manage our expectations. And I also understand that the sourcing fee that an investor pays isn't just for the deal, it's also for all the time saved and the energy saved and the after sales process as well. So I think I've definitely learned to value myself a lot more than I was doing previously and understand the value in my service.
Awesome. You know what, and I think that was natural for you to think like that at the beginning, because you've grown your confidence over time, and that's natural, I think, for anybody to feel uncomfortable within themselves, because you're learning and you're growing and you do question yourself because you're learning a new skill, essentially, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely, completely. And I think property at the beginning can become so intimidating because you've got buy to let, BRR, you've got all these big words that get thrown around, your HMOs, and at first just like, what is this? But the more you get into it and dive into it and actually making mistakes, you start to slowly understand and learn. It is quite simple.
Yeah, no, it is, and the more you do it, the more you get used to it, and the more it becomes second nature. And I just want to touch on, these property sayings that are over. I had to write them down. I got like a mini dictionary that I created myself of all these sayings, and half of them are made up. I think this one that makes me and my business partner laugh is OPM. Have you heard of that one?
Or other people's money.
What a load of bollocks.
Yeah, exactly.
Just say
basically just you're just raising investor finance. No, it's not.
OPM. God, it's like talking a different language, like, and that puts people off in itself because these trainers, they just make up acronyms out of nowhere.
Yeah,
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 yeah. I did have that one at a training event, the OPM, and
yeah,
it does make, because they kind of made it sound like, wow, how do I go about getting OPM? And it's a property sourcing and raising finance goes hand in hand, and you realise that you literally find a suitable development and offer a return on the money. So
yeah.
yeah, that is one of my favourites as
It's
well.
like I'm going to go and make a COP in the K, cup of tea in the kitchen.
Yeah,
So but it's a bit daft, but I always have a little laugh and joke about that one because you do see it from time to time, but I think people I've seen past that now. So yeah, so when you do find new investors and you have like a call with them, to get you on board your like, let's say for instance, do you have like I'm guessing you have like a mailing list or something like that, or do you operate differently to that? When you get new deals, do you have a mailing list that you send out to all your investors, or?
yeah. So I typically, before I book a viewing, I'll book a viewing and go view a property with an investor in mind. So it's almost like I'm shopping for someone. So the viewings I've booked next week, I've got a handful of investors who I know would be interested in that, and I'm going to view it for them, because it's more of a personalised approach. I do know some people with a mailing list of 100 investors, but personally, I just find that a very blind fire approach. And I think if you don't have that personal connection with someone, they're not really going to buy your deal. Why would they bother? So yeah, I prefer to work with a small number of investors and kind of tailor fit what they need to what I go and view.
Yeah, and that works for you, doesn't it? Because I think that's the kind of approach that I like with investors that I'll work with. It will be like I'll tailor it for them. So you're right, it's like a shopping list. They'll give me, right, I want this return on investment, or ROCE, or I want a semi, 3-bed semi. Or exactly
Yeah,
what they want, or kind of a spectrum, and then I'll go out and find it for them. And I think that's, well, you know what you're looking for then, don't you? You're not wasting times on viewings and such. You're going out and exactly, you can narrow it down what you go to look for.
yeah, completely. And the more you do that, the more you understand what is kind of an acceptable thing to ask for, and what are the ones that you think there's no way on earth that's going to get found, and if it does, I'll be financing it myself. So yeah, for me personally, it works better doing it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool stuff. So what would be your like long-term plans? And so are you doing this to raise capital then to then buy your own portfolio and build a bit of an empire?
Yeah, so me and you met at the White Box Wednesday, the Christmas one, didn't we?
We did indeed, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's given away my own goals a bit. And my goal always been development. I love seeing properties renovated. So that's always been my dream. It's just that when I started out, I assumed that I'd have to be a multimillionaire before that was even an option. Um, so I think my goals definitely is more the development side and raising finance, and working with a team to start building bigger projects. And I do prefer the idea of build to rent as well. And another one of my favourite strategies is serviced accommodation.
Mm.
So I think long term, I am looking to start building my own portfolio and start building properties as well.
Yeah, wicked. I love that because that's exactly, we're kind of aligned on that because that's ultimately what I want to be involved in down the line,
Yeah.
within the next 5 years. Developments, and yeah, raising finance, as well as, well, you need to raise the finance and have the investors now, which is what you're doing. So when you do go to do the developments, you'll have the investors ready to go for your projects then.
Yeah, essentially, I think that's definitely the end goal, and I think that's the thing that really excites me. I mean, property sourcing does as well, and all the property does, but I think we've all got that end goal that we're all really striving for.
Yeah, definitely. And is it like, tell us a bit more about your why then. Is it like you want to build like long-term wealth? Do you just want to like live on a yacht when you retire? Like what's your aspirations?
I think my why. So I don't know if you can see the rubbish goatee that I've tried growing. My why is basically that without this, I look 16 now. Without this, I look 12. And I've been working in offices since I was 16. And basically, all my life, I've been micromanaged, bullied by managers, bullied by everyone that I work with because I look so young. I've always been kind of looked down on. And I just hit a point where I thought, you know what? I don't want this anymore. I want to build my own future, live free, and have more control over my life. If I want to go on a holiday, go on a holiday. It would be nice to have a nice car. And my dad's also not too well, so it'd be to look after him. And I don't know, just live a future that's a little bit more free where I can do what I want. Currently, I'm driving a Citroen C2 that's in the garage, and I've just left a job that I absolutely hate, and I kind of just don't want that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and I think because I watch a lot of your videos, and you talk so with a really positive attitude, and you're always questioning yourself and then answering yourself in a in a really positive way, and it just shows that you're growing. And I think, I mean, and you're a young guy as well, so you've got a long time ahead of you, and there's no rush, is it? It's about building long-term wealth in property, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is a long-term game, and it can sometimes be sold as kind of a get-rich-quick scheme, but it's definitely you're in it for the long game.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I've tried some of those get rich quick schemes years ago, and yeah, they didn't pay dividend at all because, well, I'm not rich at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know if anyone that's tried one and it's worked for them,
Yeah.
but maybe one day we'll get lucky.
Yeah, well, I think the only ones that do work, but it literally probably even work. It probably works for the first people that start. Is those annoying pyramid schemes, but the people that lose out are the ones that join it. You know, after the founders.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think, well, you'll know this. The more you kind of, for some reason, when you're active in property and you start making property friends, the more like invites you get to these pyramid schemes like Bitcoin and everything else, and you just get some really weird friends requests.
Yeah. Oh, do you mean, yeah? So in terms of the whole, 'cause that was going to be my next thing in terms of other assets. Do you invest in other assets? I was going to ask, do you invest in cryptocurrencies or gold or anything like that, or would you look to invest in diversify other than property in the future?
Yeah, so currently I don't invest in any assets, just because everything I have goes into the business, like Facebook ads and that kind of thing. But I definitely look to invest in the future. Property would be the first one, because I think you've got to practice what you preach, and it's definitely something I love. And then you know what? I've not actually looked at many other investments. I investigated forex for a while, but that just bored the life out of me. But I think if I was going to invest in one, it would be gold,
Yeah.
because I can definitely see that coming up.
Gold is, so for me. I'm a gold investor, and I love investing in gold, and it's long term growth. You'll never see. Like, I'm sure you may have heard the word Bitcoin appear up recently a lot, because of its growth as rapid. I think a few months ago it was like £17,000, and now it's nearly £25,000, and I think it reached $33,000 the other day at the time of speaking on this talk show. But like, you will never ever see that on gold. Well, according to history as well, it hasn't happened like an absolute spike like that. But it's a good gold is a good investment for like a hedge against like currency, like paper currency, basically, if that goes down with inflation. And
Yeah, I think Robert Kiyosaki as well is a huge advocate for investing in gold.
yeah, he is. I watch his talk show actually, and he preaches it. He even preaches it in buying silver as well. I think kind of all kind of commodities really, but I'd buy gold and silver, but I don't know if I'd buy oil. I mean, how would you? I don't actually know how to buy oil. I know you can buy it you can buy like shares in it, but I wouldn't have a physical barrel of oil in my garden.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I mean, I kind of wish I invested in oil at the start of the first lockdown,
Oh
because
yeah,
the only time I filled up my car and the liters have come out more than what I'm actually paying for it. So, yeah, I should have invested then.
yeah, because it went down really low, didn't it, at the start of last year? Was it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, and again with the whole cryptocurrency thing as well. That's another thing that people can invest in. but it's so volatile. Whereas again, the compared to the property, it's not really it's long-term wealth, isn't it? Property, it's a good wealth vehicle.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's consistently proven that it always grows just at a steady pace. I mean, in some places like Manchester, it was a bit more rapid. The problem I have with the volatile ones like Bitcoin is you always hear that saying that if you've kind of heard about, something as volatile as that or as successful as that, you're normally too late to get on the bandwagon. Um, and I've been saying that about Bitcoin for years, but it keeps going up and up and up. So, maybe I am missing a trick with it. But I think property is definitely a sturdy investment. And the reason I like property is, like you said about the oil barrel, is it's tangible. You can see it. You can walk around it. There's something just a little bit more real. And I think that's why I definitely like it.
Yeah, and it's good to see that you are focused on the one thing as well, because it's so easy, and I've been a victim of it. It's so easy to be caught up into like all these different types of investments, and you're like, well, which one do I go in? Then you kind of, you dabble in one, dabble in another, instead of just focusing on one, and that's what you're doing. You're focusing on the one, and which is great.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you. I've definitely done the same in my early days, tried chasing the shiny penny, but I think the more you stay focused on one thing, the quicker you get good at it and build up that success.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So, with your friends and family and you starting a business, are they supporting you in it, or does because I think sometimes like you've got like an entrepreneurial kind of mind, and sometimes I've found with the past, sometimes friends and family don't really understand that, but they support me no matter what. But how have you found that?
Yeah, so I've always been reluctant to call myself an entrepreneur, but the more I've kind of gone on with certain things and the way my mind's working, and the more I speak to entrepreneurs like yourself, the more I realize, okay, maybe I do have a bit of it in me. Um, I I think to say I started up a business, I definitely expected more positivity around me than I got. It's very split in the middle. You get some people who couldn't be prouder of you and are always pushing you and always supporting you. And then I'd say the hardest thing for me starting up a business was some of the people I expected, who I thought would really want me to win, were the people that seemed to just want me to give up every kind of 2 minutes. So there's definitely a lot more negativity than I expected, and that's from friends and family and
Mm.
people I thought were close to me.
And how have you coped with that?
Um, I think at first it really got me down, because there's only and I know you've meant to take life with a positive attitude, but there's only so much you can take from people who are wanting you to fail and calling you a failure before you sort of start thinking, am I a failure? Maybe I'm not an entrepreneur. Maybe I should get back in my lane. But after a while of hearing it, you just think, you know what, win or lose, I'm going to try it. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do it. And I think to fail trying to do something is always better than to just never try at all.
Yeah, I totally agree with that statement. And it's difficult sometimes because, like, you know, you could ignore the noise all day, but sometimes it'll be your subconscious that will eat away that little bit of you that might tell you. Because I feel like I've been reading this book, and it kind of tells you that your subconscious is out to get you. It wants you to fail. That's why you have
Yeah.
to train your subconscious to by consistently thinking positive no matter what. Obviously, I'm not saying you have to be positive 100% of the day, because we are allowed to have negative days, of course. It's just we're human at the end of the day. But to train our subconscious to get those grab those negative thoughts and what people say to us, and turn them round, as opposed to letting them eat us, turn them into positives. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, it completely makes sense. And I think you're absolutely right there. I did a lot of work into the subconscious, and it definitely seems the case, doesn't it, that you're in a constant battle with your own brain.
Oh yeah, every day, man, every day. But it's learning and developing, and you touched on something what you said earlier about you didn't think yourself as an entrepreneur, but you I think you are, and just having that mindset of what you've already got, like that's an entrepreneurial mindset, because the fact that you want to adapt and grow, whether it is a mindset and in business, well, that's entrepreneur straight away, isn't it? Like you don't have to. I don't think you have to own a business to be called an entrepreneur, because even though that's what is considered an entrepreneur, I
Yeah,
think my personal view on it is it's like an entrepreneur mindset is just thinking smarter and not harder.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think that's a really good way of looking at it, actually.
Yeah.
To be an entrepreneur, you needed about 5 businesses, but I've realised now that, like you say, it can be separated from business, and it can just be a mindset.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to have there's a difference to be an actual entrepreneur. Maybe you need to have like a couple of businesses, but to have an entrepreneurial mindset and be called an entrepreneur, then yeah, it's just the mindset. But I just think that's a positive way to look at it, and just to not doubt yourself, basically. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, call yourself one. It's almost like actors. You've got to act a certain way. You got to turn into that character. So if you turn into that entrepreneur mindset and call yourself one, if that's what gets you to be an entrepreneur. And I think that's you're on that way anyway, to head into that, having those businesses.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's a long path, and I think, like you say, you've got to block out the noise. But I do feel myself getting there slowly but surely.
Yeah, you will, mate. I'm sure. And as I said, you're young, and yeah, plenty of years ahead of you. So yeah, awesome stuff. So yeah, we're just going to come to our last question before our random question section, and that is advice for others. What? Give us some top 3 tips. It could be, in property, business, whatever you like.
Yeah, definitely. So I'd say my first tip starting out is that don't go into it expecting it to be easy. Don't expect to be making millions within a year. When I started out in property, I was honestly doing calculations on my phone, like, this time next year I'm going to be earning 75 grand, and yet, I'm still struggling to find deals occasionally with the economy. So never go into it expecting it to be easy, because I think that will automatically deflate you. Expect it to be hard, and if you find deals easy and it does go well for you, then that's an added bonus. um Number 2 would definitely be what we're saying about mindset. It's all about understanding how your mind works and the subconscious, and understanding that some people around you are going to be negative, and you are going to face negativity. I always thought you had to be a rock star or like Taylor Swift to get haters. You don't. You just need to step out your lane and want to try something different, and people will try and pull you down for that. And I'd say number 3 is get educated, understand property, read books, but the most important education is just speaking to people like yourself, growing your network, speaking to people within the industry, and just understanding the realities of things. I think books and online videos have the place, but they can really make things look a lot prettier than they are. But when you speak to people that are on the ground doing things within property or business or anything you want to do, that's when you really get the nitty gritty and you see the darker side as well as all the pros.
Fantastic tips. And going off the back of that, what book would you recommend? Your number 1 book, if you had to pick one.
Right, I'm not going to recommend Rich Dad Poor Dad, because I should imagine almost everyone who speaks to you recommends that one.
Yeah.
So instead, I recommend a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, for the reason being that it's just a great book on communication, and not just it helps to understand how other people work. And it's been vital when speaking to an estate agent or a mortgage broker, to be able to have a quick conversation with someone and then that call with them genuinely wanting to help you. So I think it's a great book about mindset and understanding others. And one of the greatest points is you can't win an argument. And when you realize that, it will change your life.
You know what? Just that what you've said there, like that is one of my that's in my top 3 books, actually, and that was one of my key takeaways. I mean, I'm not an argumentative person anyway, but you can't win an argument. So whenever I'm in conflict, and I'm sure you're the same, it's like I just let the noise go in one ear and out the other, and I feel so much better for it as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If you've got a girlfriend though, that doesn't always work. They do like to get a rise out of you. So, but yeah, it's definitely a good one to learn.
Yeah, well, I just nod and agree.
Yeah,
I hope she doesn't listen to this. Awesome, mate. Cool. Right, so random question time. So we're at the part of the show. I'm sure if you're an avid listener to the show, you'll know what's coming up. So I ask you 3 random questions that I ask all my awesome guests, and yeah, just Answer them as you will. So, question one is, what is your favorite movie?
Django Unchained, but without a doubt, I'd say that's definitely up there.
Interesting. Why Django? Do you enjoy the? Well, it is a great movie. I love it. Quentin Tarantino's one of his greatest.
Yeah, I enjoy it mainly because I like action, and I just find it great. I think it's funny, and I like Quentin Tarantino, and it's also got some of the best actors in there. But actually, another one I'd say if I had to pick two would be Wolf of Wall Street. I don't know why that didn't jump into my head straight away. I think that's an amazing film.
Yeah, I love them. They're both great films, and we've had the Wolf of Wall Street on this show previously, so it's definitely a show favorite for sure.
Really, you've had Jordan Belfort on?
Oh no! Oh, sorry, I meant that we've had that answer. God, you know what though? That is a long-term goal for me to get someone like Jordan on. So, Jordan, if you are listening in the world, then come on my show, please.
So if you've gone from Jordan Belfort to me, you've taken a bit of a step down there. But
Nah, don't put yourself down, mate. You're the next Wolf of where you from?
Yorkshire.
There you go, the Wolf of Yorkshire. Okay, question two: favorite destination?
Trip destination. Oh, that's a tricky one, you know. I'd say Edinburgh. Now, I have been kind of abroad and stuff, but I'd say Edinburgh just because I've always loved kind of the old medieval feel. And I also used to be a stand-up comedian, so the Edinburgh Fringe and all the comedy. So it's definitely my favourite.
So you've actually performed at Edinburgh Fringe?
No, I didn't perform at the Edinburgh Fringe. I was going to do, but I did do stand-up comedy for about a year. So I've performed in other places.
Oh, that's amazing. You know what? I would have asked you talked about that for a little bit, but yeah, that's awesome, mate. Yeah, really cool. We'll have to chat about that a different time. Love to know more because yeah, I'm sure everyone loves comedy, but yeah, I'm a massive Lee Evans fan personally. I don't know who your favorite comedian is.
Yeah, I do love a bit of Lee Evans and Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, quality comedy. All right, cool. Third and final question: name something that grinds your gears.
Cyclists. It's got to be because I'm a calm man. Like I'm quite calm, but cyclists just bring out like a kind of deep primal rage. So yeah, definitely cyclists.
Cyclists, just cyclists straight away. Love it.
Yeah, I should
Um,
probably need to put a bit more thought into that.
yeah, just don't like cyclists. Any cyclists listening to the show, I do apologise. Yeah, watch out for Sam on the road because he'll take you off the road. Awesome, mate. So, just on a final note, then, how can people get in touch with you?
Best way to get in touch with me is you can do so on Facebook, which is just Sam Cooke. I've got my business page on there, but I'm more than happy for people to message me on my personal. Or you can reach me on my email, which is sam.cook, that's cook with an E, at Fowlds, spelled Fowlds, Cook, just like my surname, property.com.
Brilliant, good stuff. Right, Sam, you've been an absolutely awesome guest, and really appreciate your time. And thanks for coming on the show. And I wish you the best of luck in your property journey.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure coming on. Thanks for having me.
You're absolutely welcome. All right, everyone, that has been the All Right Talk show. We will be back, of course, next week with another awesome guest. Ciao for now.